You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-RADIO-US, 844-723-4687, 723-4687. What I want to do here is I want to find something that I have lost. Because there's a news article that perfectly illustrates the left and right of this particular circumstance. Telephone number is 844-RADIO-US. MLK, Martin Luther King, stated that in the end we will remember not the words of our enemies but the silence of our friends. And that could be indeed the case. And I got to be honest with you, that I think that truer words have never been spoken. A lot of Republicans are indeed speaking out, and this is something that has to be discussed. It has to be discussed in a very serious way. I brought it up once already. I'm going to bring it up again because it's important that we actually understand this. These leftist politicians are saying what they're saying. Not the leftist politicians. The Republican politicians are saying what they're saying because they have a vested interest in seeing the defeat of President Trump. These are the same never Trump politicians that were escorted from the political process either by decisions they made themselves or by decisions made by the people of the United States. It could not have been more poignant or more real that's the way that worked. And so when we start talking about this, remember, these people who are saying these things, when these people say these things that the president is just a racist, terrible person, blah, 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 blah. Okay, remember, they have a vested interest in seeing President Trump defeated. And that is a terrible thing. That is just a terrible thing. And it is the treachery of politics. It is something that indeed is a horrible, terrible thing. The president has said this: when will the radical left congresswomen apologize to our country, the people of Israel, even to the office of the president, for the foul language they have used, the terrible things they have said? So many people are angry at them and their horrible and disgusting actions. I agree. I do. I completely agree. These leftist politicians, they are divisive. They have been called out on their divisiveness. And to misreport all of this as something that it is not, I think is, again, the absolute quintessential reality that is so desperately destructive to the American system. Okay? It absolutely is. I look at all this and I say, hey, there are just wrong things being done and wrong things being said. And while the President of the United States can be someone who jostles the American system, he also calls it the way he sees it. And that's something I really like. Found the article that I was looking for. When will radical left congresswomen apologize to our country, the people of Israel, even to the office of the president, for the foul language they have used and the terrible things they have said? So many people are angry at them and their horrible and disgusting actions. AOC tweets, it's important to note that the president's words yesterday telling 4 American congresswomen of color to go back to your country is the hallmark language of white supremacists. Trump feels comfortable leading the GOP into outright racism, and that should concern all Americans. No, It is not outright racism. It is something that is plain speaking American First Amendment rights. Is it something we're used to? No, it is not something we're used to. Not at all. Not in any way are we used to this. We've never had a president like this. I told you that he would do things that would shake things up. I was completely correct. And he has. And this is one of them. But AOC has no business speaking. She doesn't. She has no business speaking. Sure, she can speak her mind. She's an American citizen. I don't have any problem with that. But what she is doing is she is mischaracterizing what the president is saying for political effect. Just like the mainstream media, just like these Republicans that are coming out saying, my God. Let's talk about a Republican. Let's talk about a Republican and what he had to say that isn't getting a lot of airplay. Lindsey Graham was one of the few to weigh in, saying in a Fox News interview that while he agreed with Trump's criticisms of the four Congresswomen's politics, he thought the president should knock it down a notch to avoid getting personal in his attacks. They are American citizens. They won an election. Take on their policies. That's good. That's good. And then he goes on to say this. We all know that AOC and this crowd, the squad, are a bunch of communists. They are. They hate Israel. They hate our own country. They're calling on the guards along our border patrol agents. They're calling them concentration camp guards. Yes, they are. They accuse people who support Israel of doing it for the Benjamins. They're anti-Semitic. They're anti-America. And he is completely and thoroughly correct. But does he get quoted? No. No, because that does not create a stroking of the political agenda. It doesn't. What it does is it creates an opportunity for Americans to see just exactly what's going on here. Lindsey Graham says these people are a bunch of communists. Nothing they say is going to be pro-American. They can't do it. And so any chance they can get that takes on somebody who is saying something pro-American, like our president, they will take it. No matter how ridiculous they look when they do it. And why are they getting away with it? I am so glad you've asked that question. The reason that they get away with it is because the mainstream media will not report the story. Will not report the story. When you talk about this, it's inextricable. You can't separate any of this from what is going on with this president and his mandate from the people of the United States. The President of the United States was given 63 million votes. That's why he sits in that office. How did he get those votes? He got those votes because he said, I'm going to close the border down. And the American public said, great, finally, we've been waiting only 30 years. Which is part and parcel of why I say that the political process has failed America. The political process had an opportunity beginning all the way back in 1980 to secure the border of the United States the way the Constitution intended. And they didn't do it then, and they didn't do it in the 90s or the 2000s or the 2010s. And the American people finally got tired of waiting. And a guy who said, we're going to close the border, got elected to the presidency. And a notable political party immediately started fighting him tooth and nail to stop him from building those walls, which work. Now we need a technological wall. Sorry, we spent billions on that in the early 2000s, and it failed. You could find pieces of it on eBay. Oh, we need a smart wall. Well, yeah, but it can't be. You can't get anything smart out of a government that's stupid. And the president of the United States says, let's build a wall. And what happened? Suddenly there's no money. Suddenly any money that's out there is tied up in court. Why? Because the left has this ace in the hole. On one hand, they'll tell you that our judiciary is completely apolitical. And then they go judge shopping to stop the president of the United States on some flimsy opinion from some district federal judge somewhere that twists the president's hopes, the president's work, into something that is either racist or some way exploitable by the leftist press. And so he rules against it. I got to be perfectly honest with you. The Congress needs to, regardless of party, needs to look at judges who will play politics and remove them from office. They won't. They won't because the left can't afford it. They don't have political policy that you would vote for. And if you think there is one out there, and if I'm over speaking, then by all means tell me, give me an example of a Democrat policy statement that you could support, and tell me why. Telephone number is 844-RADIO-US, 844-723-4687. I'll save you some work. There isn't one. And so when they don't get their way, they end up in court. The Supreme Court of the United States finally said, gerrymandering is a dirty, nasty political trick that serves the American experience brilliantly. It forces both parties to come up with policy worth voting for, especially when it comes time to census opportunities. Because if indeed you can control the results of the census from a standpoint of redistricting, you can give yourself unbelievable political opportunities. Democrats said, well, this is all racist. Yeah, like anything that disagrees with Democrat policy isn't racist, but let's just play along. Well, this is all racist. We can't possibly do this. We're disenfranchising voters. No, we're disenfranchising Democrat voters. Like Democrats do when they redistrict to disenfranchise Republican voters. Is it right and fair and equitable? No. And this is the great big hypocrisy of all of it. The Democrat Party does not want a colorblind society. The basis of their politics is to rule through division. The American people are looking for reasoned, worthwhile government policy. It doesn't happen very often. If at all, it doesn't happen very often. It happens when it's absolutely necessary. Got to go to war to save Europe. Got to go to war to save the Pacific. World War II, done. But then we end up in these never-ending wars like Vietnam, which was a political exercise from the word go. Well, it's the domino effect. We have to go to Vietnam and stop the spread of communism. That was all part of the Cold War. And we did show that resolve. We did show that it was absolutely essential that liberty and freedom rule the day for all of these countries. And for the most part, the Vietnam War actually accomplished that goal. So and then after accomplishing the goal that all those soldiers went and fought for, Democrats said, well, we lost the war. Wrong. Every aspect of that war we won, including the end game, which was to stop the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. Look, all you have to do All you have to do to see the reality of politics in the United States is to open your eyes, open your ears, and look for what they say right now. There shouldn't be a citizenship question on the census. Right. Why? Because we don't want to know how many American citizens there are in the United States. Okay, why? Because if we know how many American citizens there are, we'll also know how many people living here are not American citizens. Oops! You're listening to the Wells Report. Back with more in just a moment.
It is a horrible scenario, but it happens. Dennis writes about his wife. She was diagnosed with leukemia. In fact, she's a 2-time survivor, and in the midst of all that, they ran up over $1 million in medical bills. Thankfully, they're MediShare members. And Dennis says they are so thankful for that, how others came together to meet their needs. And that's how so many MediShare members feel. This is not health insurance. It's different. You don't have to pay for things you don't believe in. And like Dennis found out, it just works. So if you join MediShare, not only do you save a lot of money, the typical family saves about $500 a month, but you know where your money's going each month. You're helping people, and if the time should come, they'll be helping and even praying for you. So yes, it's different, and as more than 400,000 people now know when it comes to healthcare costs, different is beautiful. Find out more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-985-1813 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you a copy of The #1 Mistakes Retirees Are Making with Their Investments Today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-985-1813 now. Again, that's 800-985-1813. Employees of J.D. Melberg Financial have the appropriate licenses for the products they offer.
Are you looking for senior care for your mom or dad but don't know where to start? Hi, I'm Joan London with The Place for Mom. Nobody knows your parent or loved one better than you, and nobody knows senior living better than the experts at A Place for Mom. They've helped thousands of families find the right place for their mom or dad.
I was so glad that I called A Place for Mom. My advisor really listened and was truly my partner in finding senior care for my dad. She went out of her way to get to know him as a person and was always there whenever I had a question.
The senior living advisors at A Place for Mom partner with thousands of families every month, listening and offering local knowledge and advice to help find the best senior living communities across the country. And it's a free service. Here's the number.
Call A Place for Mom at 1-800-370-2715.
There's a place for answers, A Place for Mom. Call today.
Call A Place for Mom at 1-800-370-2715. That's 1-800-370-2715.
Oh, he's done winning.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Hello. Telephone number is 844-RADIO-US, 844-723-4687. So what we got here is we got Nikki Haley that is pointing at something that's very important. She's a former United Nations ambassador. Yesterday, she condemned prominent Democrats for staying silent after protesters demonstrating outside a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility last week pulled down the American flag and put up the flag of Mexico in its place. Crews in Aurora, Colorado, restored the American flag. The protesters removed a Blue Lives Matter flag honoring law enforcement, spray painted it with the words "Abolish ICE," then raised the flag upside down. on a pole next to the Mexican flag. Haley said there are no words for why Democrats are staying silent on this. If this is your way to winning an election, fire your strategist. It's disgusting. Love your country, and if you don't like what's happening, tell your members of Congress to get to work to fix it. But they can't fix anything. You know it, and I know it. This is awful. It's also, by the way, not the only thing that's going on regarding an attack on an American installation. Stick around. I'll have more about that coming up later on this edition of the Wells Report. They asked Governor Hickenlooper, former Governor Hickenlooper, former governor of Colorado, and current presidential candidate, well, I certainly respect the American flag my whole life. I've been fighting to make this country, to make sure this country welcomes everyone, and this flag represents everyone. You know, I'm old enough. I remember when people were burning flags in protest of Vietnam. The amazing thing about this country is we're really one of the few places on earth where that level of freedom of speech is still protected. I might not approve of it, but I think that freedom is something that we as Americans should recognize and say, hey, that's part of our core freedoms. A reporter asked, are you willing to say doing that, ripping down the American flag over a facility, running up the American flag is wrong? It doesn't send the right message. It isn't going to unite us, which you say is so important. I think there are better ways to unite us, said Hickenlooper, avoiding the actual hanging curveball. There's no question about that. Yes, I am willing to say that ripping down the American flag over a United States government facility and flying a Mexican flag is absolutely abhorrent. Absolutely abhorrent. It stinks. It stinks on ice. Ted Cruz. The predictable result of the 2020 Dems' radical open borders policy, every Democrat presidential candidate should be asked the hard question. Do you agree with ICE protesters taking down the American flag and replacing it with the Mexican flag? I agree completely. I absolutely and completely agree. All these people that have profited handsomely because they ignore their constitutional responsibilities to close the border and to secure the border of the United States. In the post-9/11 world, no less. In the midst of the war on terror, which is, by the way, still going on. And if you don't think a reminder that the war on terror is very much due, then you're not thinking. Those people are going to do something again. They've had some success. They've had enough success so that a sitting member of the United States Congress puffs her chest out in pride to see what Al-Qaeda did to this nation. And she said it in public. And then the idiots, and I'm gonna immediately call myself down on that. The people of Minnesota voted her into office. They are not idiots. They are my neighbors. Do I understand why they voted her into office? I have no idea. None. Zip. I'm baffled. But all I can say is, I certainly hope they rectify their mistake at their next opportunity. Same thing in Queens, New York, Mississippi, and Michigan. It is my hope that those people are gone at the very first opportunity so they can get back to doing what they do best, which is hate the United States of America. This is the Wells Report. Back in a moment.
Hi, this is Wayne Alaruth, the capitalist evangelist. I'm here to introduce you to a special company with the potential to be one of the great all-American stories. Fortum Resources is a publicly traded, diversified natural resource company with oil, gas, and mining properties in North America and internationally. Fortum is led by Chairman Mark Bruner, the legendary oil man who built Ultra Petroleum from a 15-cent stock to $200 per share, creating $15 billion in shareholder profits. Mark has 30 years of experience in the oil and gas industry, overseeing contracts with Halliburton, ExxonMobil, and Hess. Fortum has over 350,000 acres of oil and gas resources, and more than half the acreage has been evaluated by world-renowned auditors Deloitte Touche. Fortum also owns the rights to the 180-square-mile City of Gold mining property. Fortum is traded on 2 global exchanges, U.S. ticker symbol FTMR. Repeat, FTMR. This is a rare ground floor opportunity to capitalize on a proven energy industry legend. Please visit FortumResources.com. That's Fortum, F-O-R-T-E-M, resources.com.